Hey crafters, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be demonstrating my faux denim technique so that you can make any card look like it's made of denim. So today I'm using my 3D embossing folder from Sizzix. This is the wood grain one. This is an example of what it looks like with traditional wood colors. And I'm going to just mist my piece of cardstock before embossing it in my machine. So if I wanted this to look like wood, I would probably use browns to decorate it. But I noticed that if I use blues with it, it looks a lot like denim. So I'm going to start with some chipped sapphire. This is a distress oxide. And I'm just going to use my foam tool to blend it roughly on top. And you'll notice that the ink stays on top of the paper and doesn't go into those grooves. They stay mostly white. Then I'm going to add some hints of a lighter blue. So I'm going to use some Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm just going to swipe that on. And also some gray hints, some weathered wood. Now, once I've got the color on, I'm going to spritz my paper until it's completely wet. This will help the color to seep into those cracks. And then I'm going to dry it with my heat tool. Now, once it's completely dry, I could stop there if I like, but I want mine to be a bit bluer than this. So I'm going to go back to the chipped sapphire and just blend that on top. And you'll notice in the cracks now, I've got a lovely mix of blues and grays, which looks a lot like denim. Now, if you've ever watched one of my videos before, firstly, thank you. Secondly, you'll notice that I tend to love textures in my cards. So this is what inspired me to try and make a faux denim effect. So I'm going to trim this card panel until it's approximately 4 1/4 inches, but shaped a bit like a pocket. Now the thing that's missing is some stitching, but I'll add that in a little bit. First, I'm going to do my stamping. Now, these are the designs that inspired me to create a denim card. These stamps are from Newton's Nook, and they're part of the Stamptember 2020 release by Simon Says Stamps. So you may not have these limited edition stamps, but I'm sure you have some critters that would look great in one of these pockets. So I'm just going to color these with a variety of Copic colors. This one is mostly in browns, but I did use B66 and B63 to do the pocket on the front. I'm so glad that I got these stamps, and being a cat and a dog lover, I couldn't decide which ones to use for today's card, so I ended up using all 3 of these cute critters. So the dark brown I used on this dog is E37, and the lighter brown is E33. And then I blended that lighter brown out with E00. Lastly, I added a bit of RV25 on his nose. Now you could use any color medium that you like to color in your images. I'm just lucky enough to have Copics. So like I said, I used all 3 images on my card. So I've got this little cute dog, and then the other dog and the cat as well. Now to add some stitching detail, I'll show you my experiments. I found that the yellow jelly pen worked the best for me. But of course you could customize this for the coloring of your card. So I just used a ruler to make sure my stitches were straight and my fluorescent yellow jelly pen, and I added a stitch detail along the outside of the pocket. You could always add a double line of stitching if you prefer, and it depends on the size of your card and the size of your pocket. But as I like using bigger cards, 5x7s, and my pocket is 4 1/4 inches square roughly, I found the single line of stitches worked best for me. Now I did do an extra row of stitching at the top to make it look like the top of the pocket was folded over. And then after looking at a few different pairs of jeans, I created a random squiggle or a flourish in the inside of the pocket here. But again, you could customize this depending on your likes. I just love that stitching. It's these little details that make all the difference. Now I decided to turn this card into a birthday card, and this stamp set has some really apt sentiments, so I decided to use 3 of them. And I just stamped them with some VersaFine black onyx ink, and I used 3 of them, so it says sending you a pocket full of birthday wishes. And then I cut the sentiments out and backed them on black paper. So here are my 3 pieces of faux denim, my sentiments, and my 3 little cute animals. And using my 5x7 inch card base, I'm going to glue on 1 panel of my faux denim so it's horizontal. Ideally, you want your pocket and your background to match so that the grains of wood or denim are going the same way. So I'm going to cut off the excess on the side here and just save this piece for later, and then glue the top piece on. I found using glue works better than double-sided tape when you have a 3D embossing folder like this. So I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of my pocket to pop it up a little bit and adhere this to my card. And then using my scraps, I'm just going to cut a little bit of a waistband to go on the top here. And originally I did glue this on, but then I decided that it needed a bit of dimension. Now I'm using a tiny little belt loop here. This is about 1/4 of an inch wide, and the waistband itself is 1 inch thick. So after adhering this on with glue, I decided it needed some dimension. So I just carefully peeled it off, added some foam tape, and put it back on. And you'll see that little detail made all the difference. And my last finishing touch on here is I'm going to add in some stitching along the waistband and on the belt loop as well. And that will tie everything together. And once again, I use my ruler just to keep my lines nice and straight. Now this card would be perfect for someone who loves animals with these stamps, but as I mentioned before, you could always use another critter and even have them inside the pocket or peeking out of the pocket, and that would be a very cute card as well. So once I'm happy with those stitches, I'm going to adhere my stamps onto the card. And most of these I just applied with regular PVA or white glue, except for this one dog here. As I have him half off the pocket, I put a little bit of double-sided foam tape behind him just so he was popped up a little bit on the card. And I did save the one dog for the inside sentiment as well. Because the outside of this card is so ornate, I made the inside a bit more on the plain side. I also used some black Nouveau drops just to add little rivets to the corner edges of my pocket, like real denim pockets have. Because these were still wet, I just made sure that I was very careful when adhering this to my card base and doing the inside of my card. It takes a good half hour for it to dry. So I'm just applying that to my 5x7 inch card base. And then, as I said, I'm going to use a very simple inside of my card, namely just my one stamp, but you could add another sentiment in there if you prefer. So once that stamp is glued on the inside of the card, my card is done. So here's the outside with that faux denim and the cute little pocket, and the inside, that cute little stamp. I love how this card turned out. I hope you do as well. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this has inspired you. Be sure to subscribe so that you're notified whenever I post a new video. Have a crafty day!